Welcome to our deep dive into Dan Abnett's Xenos.
The first book in the Eisenhorn trilogy.
That's right, the first one.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of you have asked for the highlights of this story.
Yeah.
It's action-packed.
It is.
So think of this as your guide to experiencing a universe of psychic powers, ancient conspiracies, and
encounters with some seriously creepy aliens. Right.
All without having to read the entire book.
Yeah, and it's a universe that draws you in immediately.
Oh, yeah.
You're right there on the planet Hubris alongside Inquisitor Eisenhorn trying to unravel a complex mystery. And it all starts with a frozen wasteland.
Hubris.
Right.
This planet with these crazy seasons, like for 11 months out of every 29, the whole elite population is hibernating in these elaborate hibernation tombs. I could barely make it through a Monday morning meeting without needing a coffee break.
But on Hubris, coffee breaks are not really an option during dormant. Think about it. It's so cold that even the air is described as frigid. Everything is encased in frost, and people are using ice cars just to get around.
Ice cars.
Only the custodians who are tasked with maintaining the hibernation tombs are even awake.
Right?
It paints a picture of just how humans have adapted to survive in such an unforgiving environment.
Yeah, it definitely makes you rethink those complaints about winter.
Yeah. Imagine being one of those custodians,
Right.
alone on this frozen planet, surrounded by thousands of sleeping elites. Talk about feeling isolated.
Oh, yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
a little freaky, I think.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's into this isolated world that Inquisitor Eisenhorn arrives. He's on the hunt for a dangerous heretic named Iclone.
Yeah.
And he's not the kind of guy to let a little thing like a frozen planet get in his way.
Now, I'm sure you're thinking, what is an Inquisitor?
Oh, yeah, good question.
In the world of Warhammer 40K,
Right.
they're basically like the Emperor's most elite agents.
Yeah, they are empowered to root out any threat to humanity.
Heresy.
Heresy, alien incursions.
Anything that could disrupt the Imperium's delicate balance.
Exactly. They have vast resources at their disposal.
Right.
And they're not afraid to use them,
Yeah.
even if it means bending the rules or operating in a morally gray area. And Eisenhorn, well, he embodies that archetype perfectly.
So he's a little ruthless,
He can be ruthless when he needs to be.
but he gets the job done.
He's utterly devoted to his mission, and he'll stop at nothing to achieve it.
So he sounds like the kind of guy you want on your side, but maybe not someone you'd want to cross.
I wouldn't want to be on his bad side, that's for sure.
So tell me, how does this frozen planet hunt for Iclone suddenly turn into a high-stakes thriller?
Well, things get a little heated even in this icy environment when Iclone and his followers launch a surprise attack on one of the hibernation tombs.
Oh, wow.
We're talking Processional 212, which houses over 12,000 members of Hubris's elite.
Hold on, 12,000 people in just one tomb. That's like a small city waking up all at once.
It is, yeah.
What happens when you suddenly disrupt someone's 11-month nap?
Oh, it's not pretty.
No, I imagine not.
Many of the sleepers die from the shock of being prematurely awakened.
Oh, wow.
It's absolute chaos carnage everywhere.
Yeah.
And to add to the tension, you have these cryogenerators keeping the tombs frozen, which were actually salvaged from ancient colony ships.
Wow.
It's a reminder that this planet's history is built on survival against the odds.
That's a brilliant detail by Abnett.
I agree.
It gives you a sense of the ingenuity and resourcefulness of the people who colonized Hubris.
Right.
It also makes you realize how much they depend on technology that's centuries old just to survive.
And amidst all this chaos, we get these glimpses into Eisenhorn's personality, like his custom pistol, the Scipio, which has grips intricately carved by his companion, Loris Vibin.
Ah, Laris. It makes you wonder who else is part of this team Eisenhorn has assembled.
Well, you have Amos,
Okay.
a savant who's basically a data addict.
So the brains of the operation?
Absolutely.
What about the brawn?
That's where Fischig comes in.
Okay.
He's an Arbeitschastener, basically the enforcer of the law in the Imperium.
Okay.
Think judge, jury, and executioner all rolled into one.
That's someone you don't want to mess with.
Not at all.
Okay, so they have someone who can handle information and someone who can handle, shall we say, persuasion.
Right.
And then there's Bequin.
Yes.
She seems shrouded in mystery.
Bequin is a fascinating character. Her true nature and abilities are slowly revealed throughout the story, and let me tell you, they're pretty mind-blowing.
Intriguing. And this team, they're all trying to piece together the aftermath of this attack on Hubris, right? I imagine there are more questions than answers at this point.
Absolutely. There's a missing casket component. Iclone's followers have had their identifying marks removed, and this strange word, Dysomnor, keeps popping up.
Thysamar.
It's like they're peeling back layers of a conspiracy, and each layer just gets stranger and more unsettling.
It's like trying to solve a puzzle where the pieces keep changing shape.
Exactly.
So what happens next? Where does this trail lead Eisenhorn and his team?
From the frozen wasteland of Hubris, they travel to Gudrun, a vibrant and bustling world that's about as different from Hubris as you can imagine.
So we're going from ice cars to what, hover taxis?
Not quite hover taxis, but you get the idea. It's a stark contrast. We go from this icy desolation to the Festival of Founding on Gudrun, a celebration of the planet's history.
Oh, wow.
It's a world of color music and joyous crowds.
Sounds like a sensory overload after the silence of Hubris.
It is.
What's Eisenhorn doing in the middle of all this festivity? Is he taking a break?
Hardly. He's following the trail, which leads him to the Regal Bonded Merchant Guild of Synesius,
Okay.
a powerful organization involved in, shall we say, less than reputable dealings.
The ever-present underbelly of power and wealth.
Exactly.
And do these merchants have a connection to iClone?
It's not clear at first, but there are hints that they may be involved in trading Xenos materials, which is a big no-no in the Imperium.
Okay, so things are starting to get a little more complicated.
They are.
We have heretics, shady merchants, and potentially illegal alien artifacts, and it's all happening in the middle of a massive celebration. That sounds like a recipe for disaster.
It certainly doesn't go unnoticed. Eisenhorn ends up in a high-speed chase through Gudrun's canals during the festival, trying to catch a rogue trader named Tunnock Bray, who seems to be connected to iClone.
Wait, rogue trader. Now, for those who aren't familiar with the Warhammer 40K universe, rogue traders are basically these independent merchants operating on the fringes of the Imperium.
Mm-hmm.
They have a lot of freedom,
They do.
but they also have a reputation for being a little, well, rogue.
Exactly. Think Han Solo, but in a galaxy where there are far more dangerous things than Imperial Star Destroyers.
Okay, that paints a pretty vivid picture.
It does.
So what happens during this canal chase? Does Eisenhorn catch up to this rogue trader?
He does, but just as he's about to confront Tunnock Bray, he's hit with a powerful psychic attack.
Psychic attack. Now, hold on a second. We're talking about telekinetic powers, mind control things that go beyond our understanding of physics, right?
Absolutely, and in the world of Warhammer, 40K psychic powers are both a blessing and a curse.
Right.
They can be used for good, but they can also be incredibly dangerous, especially when they're in the wrong hands.
And in this case, it seems like those hands belong to a pretty powerful psyker
Yes.
who's behind this attack.
The attack leads Eisenhorn to House Glaw,
Okay.
an ancient and powerful noble family on Gudrun.
Okay.
They have a reputation for being, well, let's just say, a bit shady.
So we're talking old money influence and potentially some very dark secrets.
Absolutely.
How does Eisenhorn manage to survive this psychic attack? Does he have any defense against these powers?
He's saved by Bequin, whose true nature is revealed in this moment. She's a psychic blank, which means she has a nullifying effect on any psychic towers directed at her.
That's incredible. Imagine being immune to mind control, telekinesis, all of that. It's quite an ace up Eisenhorn's sleeve.
It certainly is.
It makes you wonder how someone like Bequin with such a rare ability ended up in the circumstances Eisenhorn found her in.
A good question, and one we might explore later.
But now Eisenhorn has a new problem. He's stumbled upon this powerful, secretive House Glaw.
Huh?
And they don't seem like the kind of folks who appreciate uninvited guests. What does he do?
He does what any self-respecting Inquisitor would do. He infiltrates their estate.
Okay.
But this isn't some smash-and-grab operation.
Right.
Eisenhorn poses as a merchant, using his wit and charm to gain access to their inner circle.
So he's going undercover.
He is.
That's a pretty bold move, even for Eisenhorn. It's one thing to face down heretics and aliens, but it's another to try and outsmart an ancient noble family on their own turf.
It is, but he's not going in unprepared.
Yeah.
He's using advanced technology like scanner pads
Yeah.
to map out the estate, searching for hidden areas that might have been missed in previous investigations.
Now, in the Imperium technology is often centuries old.
It is, yeah.
Cobbled together,
Right.
shrouded in ritual.
But for an Inquisitor, access to the right tools can mean the difference between success and a very messy end.
All right, so it's not just about firepower. It's about using your brain
Mm-hmm.
and having a bit of tech savvy.
Exactly.
What does Eisenhorn find in this high-tech treasure hunt?
He uncovers secret cellars and tunnels not on any official records.
Oh, wow.
Areas that hint at the true extent of the Glaw's clandestine activities.
Okay.
And you start to get this feeling of unease, like something sinister is lurking beneath the surface, further emphasized by details like Carnodon pelts scattered across the floor.
Carnopton pelts.
Uh-huh.
Now, I know you can't judge a book by its cover, But in
Yeah.
this case, those pelts are practically screaming, beware danger ahead.
Exactly. It's foreshadowing at its best.
Right.
And of course, things do take a dark turn. Eisenhorn is discovered
Oh,
and captured.
not good.
And the Glaws, let's say they aren't big on due process.
Well, we're talking about a galaxy where the preferred method of interrogation often involves things like power swords and psychic torture, right?
That's right.
So what do the Glaws have in store for Eisenhorn?
They subject him to brutal torture,
Oh,
including a device called the Straussine Neural Scourge.
the what?
The Straussine Neural Scourge.
Okay.
It's a reminder that even in a galaxy full of unimaginable horrors, humans have a disturbing knack for inventing new ways to inflict pain.
Yeah, it's a pretty dark universe.
It is.
And what about Eisenhorn's team? Are they just left to fend for themselves?
Unfortunately, no. Amos, Baquin, and the others are also captured, adding a whole new layer of tension to the situation.
So the stakes are even higher now.
There are.
They're not your typical soldiers or agents.
Right.
They each have unique skills and vulnerabilities.
They do.
And you're constantly worried about how they'll survive in such a hostile environment.
You are.
So what happens next? Do they languish in a Glaw dungeon, or does Abnett have something a little more dramatic planned?
Abnett never disappoints when it comes to dramatic twists. They're thrown into a gladiatorial arena, forced to fight Carnodons for the entertainment of the Glaws and their guests.
Wait, Carnodons, like giant predatory lizards with razor-sharp claws and teeth.
The very same.
That's got to be a violation of some Imperial safety regulation, right?
Well, let's just say that health and safety regulations aren't exactly a top priority for a powerful noble family like the Glaws.
Right.
This scene is pure desperation and violence.
Oh, wow.
You're on the edge of your seat wondering how they're going to survive, especially when you consider that not everyone on Eisenhorn's team is a combat specialist.
So how did they get out of this mess? Does Eisenhorn suddenly develop superhuman strength and single-handedly take down a Carnodon?
He definitely shows his resourcefulness.
Yeah.
We get a great moment of visceral action when he kills one of the creatures with a simple dagger.
Really, just a dagger.
It highlights his tenacity, his refusal to give up even in the face of overwhelming odds. But they also get a bit of unexpected help from Haldane, a man connected to Inquisitor Voke.
Inquisitor Voke. Now, that's a name we haven't heard in a while. It seems like Eisenhorn is constantly running into other Inquisitors, each with their own agendas and secrets. It makes you wonder, are they all working towards the same goal, or are there factions within the Inquisition itself?
That's a question that lingers throughout the trilogy.
Yeah.
But for now, this unexpected intervention creates enough chaos for Eisenhorn and his team to escape.
Okay.
And as they escape, the true nature of the Glaw's conspiracy starts to become clear. Remember that mysterious true matter they were obsessed with.
Yes. Something even more important to them than the Pontius device.
Right.
What was it about those human artifacts they were collecting that made them abandon their original plan?
Well, we learn that the Glaws were seeking out ancient Xenos artifacts, things that had been hidden away for centuries.
Okay.
And their true partners in this endeavor are the saruthi.
The saruthi.
That mysterious Xenos race we encountered earlier. It adds a whole new layer of intrigue to the story.
So we're not just dealing with heretics and rogue traders anymore. We're talking about a potential alliance between a powerful human family and a Xenos race. That's got to be a major red flag for the Imperium.
It certainly is. And remember Bequin's connection to the saruthi.
Yeah.
She recognizes these ancient artifacts and mentions wheel graves from her childhood that eerily resemble saruthi structures. It suggests a history, a connection between humans and the saruthi that goes back generations.
So Bequin might be more than just a psychic blank. She might hold the key to understanding the saruthi and their motivations. But before we can dive deeper into that, they have a bit of a problem, right? Didn't you mention a Chaos Space Marine?
Yes, I did. And it's during a tense confrontation with Oberon Glaw.
The head of House Glaw.
Yes, the head of House Glaw, that we get our first glimpse of this terrifying figure. Now, for those who might not be familiar with the Warhammer 40K universe, a Chaos Space Marine is basically the ultimate nightmare.
Imagine a genetically engineered super soldier clad in nigh impenetrable armor, armed with weapons that can level city blocks. Now twist that image with unimaginable corruption fueled by the powers of chaos, and you're starting to get a picture of what a Chaos Space Marine represents.
They're the embodiment of everything the Imperium stands against: chaos, corruption, and the utter annihilation of humanity.
And the fact that the Glaws are allied with one is a chilling reminder of the true stakes of this conflict. So how do they survive an encounter with something like that? Do they pull out some top-secret Imperium-issued, chaos-killing weapon?
Surprisingly, it's Dadzo, a powerful psyker who's been working with the Glaws, who subdues the Chaos Space Marine.
Wow.
It's a moment that showcases the raw power of psychic abilities in this universe to control something so monstrous with just your mind. It's both awe-inspiring and terrifying.
It makes you wonder about the limits of psychic power. If someone can control a Chaos Space Marine, what else are they capable of?
Good question.
But more importantly, what does this say about Dazzo's allegiance?
Wow.
Is he truly loyal to the Glaws, or is there something else at play here?
That's another mystery we're left to ponder. But in the ensuing chaos, Eisenhorn manages to escape the collapsing Glaw mine with a crate of those vital Xenos artifacts, narrowly avoiding a very messy end.
Okay, so they're out of the frying pan, but I have a feeling they're about to land right in the fire. Didn't you mention something about a tetrascape?
Yes, I did. And their escape from the mine leads them straight into the most bizarre and unsettling location yet, the Saruthi tetrascape.
So what is a tetrascape? Is it like another planet, a different dimension? Are we talking about something straight out of a Salvador Dali painting?
Imagine stepping into a nightmare where the laws of physics no longer apply.
Okay.
A place where dimensions or warped perception is unreliable, and every step you take could lead you further into madness. That's the Saruthi tetrascape.
That's quite a vivid image.
Okay.
Can you give us some specific details to help us understand this strange place?
Think of arches that defy geometry. A green ammonia sea with waves flowing inwards, tiled ground buried under sand.
Wow.
It's disorienting and terrifying, even for someone as experienced as Eisenhorn.
So it's not just a physical challenge, it's a psychological one as well.
Exactly.
And I bet, just as they're starting to get a handle on this mind-bending environment, something else goes wrong.
Right. You're absolutely right. They're suddenly attacked by Imperial forces.
Oh, Imperial forces. Are we talking about friendly fire here? What's going on?
It's a betrayal that comes out of nowhere. The attack is led by another Inquisitor, a man named Molitor, who seems to have his own agenda.
Another Inquisitor.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like every time Eisenhorn turns around, he's running into another one of these guys.
He does.
And this one decides to attack him. That's got to be a major blow. Inquisitors are supposed to be the guardians of humanity, not each other's worst enemies.
Exactly, and the betrayal deepens with the appearance of the blank-eyed man from Eisenhorn's dreams, who is revealed to be a demon host controlled by Molitor.
Now, a demon host is a pretty terrifying concept. Imagine a human being possessed by a demon, a creature of pure chaos and malice.
It is.
It's a fate that's often worse than death in the Warhammer 40K universe. And it's a reminder of the insidious nature of chaos, its ability to corrupt and twist even the most innocent soul.
It's a horrifying revelation that confirms Eisenhorn's worst fears.
Yeah.
And to make matters even worse, the Saruthi slaves turn on their masters, adding another layer of chaos and confusion to an already volatile situation.
So it's basically every man an alien for themselves at this point. What's Eisenhorn's goal amidst all this chaos and betrayal? Is he just trying to survive, or is there something else he's after?
He's trying to escape with a language primer that's essential for understanding the Necroteuch,
The Necroteuch.
that legendary book of chaos lore we mentioned earlier.
Oh, right.
And it turns out that's what the Glaws were ultimately after all along.
The Necroteuch. That's a pretty big deal in the Warhammer 40K universe.
It is, yeah.
It's not just some dusty old book. It's a source of forbidden knowledge, a gateway to unimaginable power and corruption.
Exactly. It's a prize that drives the Glaws to betray their original plan and risk everything to obtain it. And in the process, we discover the Saruthi were willing to trade this immensely powerful artifact for seemingly insignificant human trinkets.
That's bizarre, isn't it? Why would an advanced alien race be so interested in what amounts to junk to humans?
That's one of the big mysteries Abnett leaves us to ponder. Maybe their motivations are beyond our understanding. Remember the way the tetrascape warped perception? Perhaps their concept of value is fundamentally different from ours.
It challenges our assumptions about what's important, doesn't it?
It does.
Maybe what we see as worthless is actually incredibly valuable to another species.
It might be.
Or maybe they're playing a game we don't even understand the rules of.
And as Eisenhorn races to escape with this language primer,
Right.
He's faced with a heart-wrenching decision.
Uh-oh.
Destroy the Necroteuch and risk losing invaluable knowledge.
Yeah.
Or let it fall into the wrong hands.
That's a moral dilemma with no easy answers.
It is.
On one hand, the Necroteuch is a source of unimaginable evil.
Right.
On the other hand, it also holds potentially valuable insights into the nature of chaos.
It could.
Insights that could help humanity in their fight against this existential threat. What does Eisenhorn choose to do?
He does destroy it.
He does.
He knows the risks,
Yeah.
the potential loss of knowledge.
Yeah, it's got to be a tough decision.
But he also understands the devastating consequences if such a powerful artifact were to fall into the wrong hands.
Right, because chaos can corrupt anybody.
Anybody.
So he makes the tough call.
He does.
But he still has to get out of there, right?
Oh, yeah, he's not out of the woods yet.
He still has to contend with the collapsing tetrascape, a vengeful Inquisitor Molitor,
Yeah.
and that terrifying demon host.
Right, the action doesn't stop just because a major decision has been made.
Of course not. This is Warhammer 40K.
Exactly. The tetrascape is literally falling apart around them with these unsettling details, like hooks descending from the ceiling.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Adding to the sense of dread and claustrophobia.
Yeah.
It's a desperate fight for survival.
Oh, yeah.
And we see Eisenhorn's tenacity and resourcefulness in full force as he navigates this chaotic environment.
So they're not just running from a collapsing building, they're running from a collapsing reality.
They are.
It's like trying to escape from a nightmare that's constantly shifting and changing around you.
A good analogy.
And in the midst of all this chaos, he's still carrying that language primer, right?
He is.
He didn't just risk his life for nothing.
He didn't. That primer represents a small victory, a glimmer of hope in a situation that seems increasingly bleak. And just as they make their escape, the saruthi edifice is obliterated by orbital bombardment.
Wow, orbital bombardment.
Talk about overkill. That's not exactly a subtle solution, is it?
Not at all.
But I guess when you're dealing with a reality-bending Xenos structure and a rogue Inquisitor, subtlety goes out the window.
Exactly. It highlights the Imperium's approach to problem solving, doesn't it? If something seems like a threat, even a potential threat, they'll wipe it out, no questions asked.
Yeah, that's definitely their style.
It is.
But amidst this display of force...
We get a chilling revelation about the true nature of that blank-eyed man who's been haunting Eisenhorn's dreams.
We do.
He's a demon in human form, a terrifying manifestation of the forces of chaos that are constantly trying to unravel the Imperium.
And that was controlling Molitor.
It's a confirmation of Eisenhorn's deepest fears, and it underscores the insidious nature of the enemy he's fighting against.
Right, because this enemy is not just a physical threat.
Yeah.
It's a threat to the very fabric of reality.
And the battle against this demon is brutal.
It is.
It highlights the desperation and sacrifice that often characterize these conflicts.
Exactly.
One of Eisenhorn's team, Titus Endor,
Yes.
is killed, a stark reminder of the human cost of this war against chaos.
It is.
It's a loss that underlines the weight of their mission, the burden they carry in their fight to protect humanity.
It is a poignant moment.
It is.
These aren't just nameless, faceless soldiers.
No, they're individuals, each with their own skills, personalities, and connections to Eisenhorn.
Right.
And their losses are felt deeply. So what happens next? Do they manage to defeat this demon?
They do. But it's a victory tinged with sorrow and unease. They manage to escape, but the experience leaves them shaken and deeply disturbed.
They've seen things
They have.
that would drive most people mad.
Right. They've been exposed to the darkest corners of the galaxy. They've seen the true face of chaos.
Right.
And they've lost friends and allies along the way.
They've emerged from a crucible forged by fire and loss.
Right.
And they've achieved their initial objective, right?
Mm-hmm.
They've stopped the Glaws.
They have.
They've prevented the Necroteuch from falling into the wrong hands. But they're also left with a lot of unanswered questions.
They are. The Glaw's true intentions remain a mystery. What was the significance of the true matter they sought? And who was the power behind Molitor and his demon host?
Yeah, who was pulling his strings?
Exactly. Was he acting alone, or was he part of a larger conspiracy within the Inquisition itself?
It's unsettling, isn't it?
Yeah.
It makes you realize that even in victory, there's a sense of unease. There's always another threat lurking in the shadows, another conspiracy waiting to be uncovered. And even within the ranks of the Imperium, there's the potential for corruption, for betrayal, for forces working against the very people they're supposed to protect.
It's a reminder that the Warhammer 40K universe is a complex and morally ambiguous place.
It is.
There are no easy answers, no clear-cut distinctions between good and evil.
And even those fighting for the survival of humanity are often forced to make compromises,
They are.
to operate in the shadows, to do things that might be considered morally questionable.
Right.
It's what makes this universe so compelling, isn't it? It's not black and white.
No.
It's a tapestry of grays,
Exactly.
where even the smallest choices can have profound repercussions.
They can.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Xenos, what are the key takeaways? What should our listener be thinking about as they venture further into the grim darkness of the 41st millennium?
Well, I think Xenos serves as a fantastic introduction to the world of Inquisitor Eisenhorn.
It does.
We see his determination, his resourcefulness, his willingness to bend the rules to achieve his objectives.
Hmm.
But we also see the toll this life takes on him, the sacrifices he's forced to make, the constant struggle against corruption and despair.
And how does he deal with all that?
That's something we'll explore in later books.
Okay.
But it's a reminder that even the most dedicated individuals are not immune to the temptations of power or the insidious whispers of chaos.
Right, so no one's safe from chaos.
No one.
And it's also a great introduction to the broader themes of the Warhammer 40K universe.
It is.
The constant struggle for survival,
Right.
the ever-present threat of chaos,
Mm.
the complex web of political intrigue and hidden agendas that permeates even the highest ranks of the Imperium. It's a universe where humanity is teetering on the brink of annihilation.
It is.
And the only thing standing between them and oblivion are individuals like Eisenhorn, flawed and complex, but ultimately dedicated to protecting their species.
Exactly. And as we move forward into the rest of the Eisenhorn trilogy.
The next 2 books.
Yes, the next 2 books, we'll see how these themes continue to develop.
Okay.
We'll see how Eisenhorn's experiences in Xenos shape his future actions and decisions.
Right, because this is just the beginning of his story.
It is, yeah.
We'll see how the lines between right and wrong become even more blurred as he delves deeper into the mysteries of this universe.
Absolutely.
And we'll see how the very nature of his reality is challenged as he confronts forces that defy human comprehension.
Exactly.
So, as we conclude our deep dive into Xenos, I encourage you to consider the questions this story raises. What are the limits of power? What sacrifices are we willing to make in the name of security? And can we truly fight against the darkness without becoming consumed by it ourselves?
Good questions to ponder.
These are the dilemmas that Eisenhorn will continue to face as his journey unfolds.
They are.
And I, for one, can't wait to see how it all plays out.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and remember, in the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war.